crime, the drugs, and all of the madness going on in our city that we need a doctor in this city. Is that right? This place has become one big madhouse. Is that right? Come on now, talk back to me. I can tell by the look on some of your face you don't agree that it's a madhouse, but I can prove it to you. It's an insane asylum, a mental hospital. What other thing other than a hospital got wards in it? Is that right? Huh? You got 3rd ward, you got 4th ward, you got 5th ward. Is that right? Come on now. And every mental hospital that you know, there's some kind of garden where the attendants take the inmates. Is that right? So you got Trinity Garden, you got Cashmere Garden. Is that right? Oh yeah. And if you're not careful and the attendants don't watch the inmates, they'll wander off into the woods. You got Northwood, you got Scenic Wood. Is that right? So you know that this place is one big madhouse, and we need the doctor. Let me introduce to you the national representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Are you ready to hear him? Minister Louis Farrakhan.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God, and we thank Him for Moses and the Torah, and we thank Him for Jesus and the Gospel, and we thank Him for Muhammad and the Holy Quran, and we believe in Moses and the Torah, and we believe in Jesus and the Gospel, and we believe in Muhammad and the Holy Quran. But if I lived to be 1,000, I don't think I could thank God enough for raising up in our midst a divine leader, teacher, and guide to make the Torah, the Gospel, and the Quran relevant books for the salvation of the oppressed in America and throughout the world. I'm speaking of none other than my teacher, the man who taught me what I know, the man who shaped me and molded me to become the man that I am becoming. I'm speaking of none other than the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. In English, it means peace be unto you. What a beautiful night in Houston. Many, many, many thanks to you for your wonderful patience and forbearance to stand in line, to have been let in, then to be asked out, then to have to wait again. I guess there were those who felt that they could try your patience, and maybe you would get disgusted and walk away. But they don't know. If we have waited for 400 years, you know we could wait a few more hours. They don't know that if we could wait 400 years for the truth, then we could wait a few hours to hear that particular truth that the scripture says would make us free. So I am thankful and grateful to all of you, and particularly to Almighty God Allah. For if it were not for God's presence calming this beautiful audience, I am sure that Houston has never seen an audience this large, this orderly, this mannerable, this patient. It is because God's Spirit and God's presence is with us, and the world needs to understand this dynamic relationship between Farrakhan and the black community. I want to call forward Brother Robert Muhammad, if he would please. Now you know that none of this could have been possible if it were not for this wonderful young brother and helper of ours and his staff and the believers of Mosque number 45 who worked night and day to make this a reality. Let us give Minister Muhammad a warm round of applause. Thank you. I just need 1,000 more like him. To our reverend clergy, civic leaders, political leaders, rostrum, dais guests, and to all of you, my dear brothers and sisters. Well, before I start, I've got to say this too. I want to thank the FOI and the MGT, the brothers and sisters who travel wherever I go, and they are not paid. They do this out of love for their brother. They want me to be safe from harm or danger. So they come and they stand post and they search to make sure that Louis Farrakhan goes out like God brought him in. Sometimes there are members of the press who ask, Mr. Farrakhan, is it necessary to have all of this security? And I have said to members of the press on occasion, I said, you would never ask that of your president. Because in your mind, he is a Caucasian of great value and importance. And because he has value and importance, he travels with his security. And nobody says anything. They don't mind being searched to come in to see the president. They don't mind anyone checking their bags, because after all, this is the president of the United States. And nobody minds when the Pope of Rome comes. He travels with his security. And on his recent trip to the United States, when the Pope was in Phoenix, Arizona, he traveled down an avenue called Central Avenue. And the security searched every manhole, went into every building, searched every building, kept people away from the windows because His Holiness was coming by. Well, I am to black people in America and the world as the Pope of Rome is to white people. And I'm not lifting myself up on any false pedestal. I may not have any value to you, but I am precious in the sight of God and in the sight of those who love His truth. And I say this with the deepest of humility. It would be suicide for you to attempt to harm me. And I'm not speaking to some little silly brother of mine. I'm saying it would be suicide for the government of the United States to want and plan against my life. Now, if you think I'm just popping off, then make your move and see what God does. Now let's get down to business. I'm in Houston because there is an unprecedented wave of crime and violence in the black community. We have a tour called Stop the Killing. That sentence, stop the killing. The subject is you understood. You stop the killing. We are slaughtering each other in numbers unprecedented in the history of our sojourn in America. Even during the worst days of slavery, we never did to one another as we are doing to one another today. It is sad to see that here in Houston, we have witnessed the murder of young Gillum, shot down by a wicked police officer whose name is Cherhad, a man that has killed 3 human beings in 7 years, supposedly in the line of duty. Byron Gillum, a young black man, a security officer, shot to death, no bill, nothing wrong. All a policeman has to do is say, I saw him reaching for a weapon. I saw him reaching for what I thought was a weapon. Shoot him 6 times. 4 times in the back. But it's all right. Each of us get angry when we hear things like this. Miss Delaney shot down by Gonzalez. He gets 7 years. He's going to appeal. Drunk, but not drunk enough that he didn't make a mistake when he saw a black woman and shot her down. We get together in huddles and we say how terrible it is, and we march and we picket. But brothers and sisters, it is bad when a police officer supposedly in the course of duty shoots down one of our brothers or sisters. But how much worse is it when every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night we fill the emergency wards of hospitals throughout this city, maiming, raping, robbing, and killing one another? Where is the outcry when this happens? As preachers, leaders, and teachers, we should be more upset when we kill one another than when the historical perennial enemy of ours, who has murdered us since the day that our fathers set the soles of their feet in the Western Hemisphere, when they kill us, they have been killing us all along. But what has happened now that has you and me at each other's throats? Right now, it is sad to see that 96% of all of the crimes against black people are committed by black people. 35% of the crimes against white people are committed by black people. But nearly 100% of the crimes that we suffer are done to us by others. Now, brothers and sisters, here in Houston, 51% of all of the murder victims are black. 53% of those who are defendants in murder trials are black. 53% of all sexual assault victims are black. And 69% of all of those who are in court for sexual offenses against women are black. Think about it. What is happening to us? What is going on in our minds and in our communities that our women are no longer safe with us, our children are no longer safe with us, and we are no longer safe with one another? According to statistics, a human being is murdered in the United States once every 24 minutes. That's right. Once every 24 minutes, an American citizen is killed by another citizen. This means that at the end of this year, there will be approximately 23,000 Americans who will die from the crime of murder. Over half of those murders will be black people killed by black people. The American government went to war in Vietnam, and we fought in Vietnam for 9 years. Black people were 35% of the casualties and 35% of the armed forces, even though we were only 10% of the population at that time. Americans lost 55,000 soldiers killed in 9 years. 35% of 55,000 is 19,250. But we in the black community will lose in 2 years in the streets of America what we lost in Vietnam in 9 years. What does that say? It is safer for a black person to be fighting in the jungles of Vietnam than to live in cities like Houston, Dallas, New York, Chicago, Washington, Detroit, Los Angeles. We are dying in the cities of America in unprecedented numbers. Houston has become a war zone. Is that right? According to some statistics that I read, a white woman has one chance in 606 of being murdered. A white man has one chance in 186 of being murdered. A black female has one chance in 126 of being murdered. But a black man has one chance in 21. That means if you count 21 young black men in here tonight, every one out of 21 is going to lose his life by the cause of murder. What does that say of black men in America? We have become an endangered species. But why, black brothers? Why are we endangered in America? One out of every 2 black young people lives in poverty. The black male prison population is over 50%. In fact, in some prisons, it is as high as 70 and 80% black young men. And of the 6 leading causes of death among the adult population, black men lead the list in each category. In homicide, number 1. In heart attacks, number 1. In cancer, suicide, strokes, and accidents, we, the black male, are dying in great numbers. Why? What is the problem? Let's go to some root causes. I respectfully suggest to this beautiful Houston audience that there's more to this than meets the eye. To every religious leader and teacher that is present tonight, Paul said, we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, when you see all of this madness going on the plane that we live on, which is the low places, who is willing to stand up and open up or uncover the principalities, the powers, the rulers of the darkness of this world, and the spiritually wicked that are in high places? Most of our leaders have bowed down to the principalities and the powers. Most of our leaders have been bought and paid for by principalities and powers and the rulers of the darkness of this world. And I respectfully say that you don't hardly have a voice left in America. But I thank God that here's one crying in the wilderness, crying aloud and sparing not, unafraid of the principalities and the powers and the rulers of the darkness of this world, because I know that there's a God on scene today, and he's with me and he's with you. If you would unite on the side of truth, you could rise up out of this condition. Nelson Mandela came out of prison a few months ago to our cheers. Nelson Mandela embarked on a world tour that carried him to the United States of America. And in city after city, with the exception of Miami, he was treated like we have never seen a black man treated in our lifetime. Was it hypocrisy? Or was it sincere? Come on, brother minister. America said, we thank God that this political prisoner who was in jail for 27 years and a fraction for being a fighter for justice for his people, he never lost his mooring. He never lost sight of the principles that he believed in. And even when he was told that he could be set free if he would only renounce armed struggle, he said, I will stay in jail rather than renounce the principle of armed struggle as a means of alleviating oppression from my people. Finally, they let him out. And when he visited America, many of our ailing politicians gathered around him like flies gathering around something sweet. Many of our ailing politicians wanted to bask in the light of his popularity. But when he was on the Ted Koppel show, and a Jewish gentleman put to him the question of his admiration and respect for Yasser Arafat, Muammar Gaddafi, and Fidel Castro, all of a sudden, Mr. Mandela, angered because he had answered these questions in Geneva, now they thought on national TV he would back down, but he is a man of principle. He is a man that puts principle above profit. And this is the way we should be. But Mr. Mandela said he thanked Yasser Arafat for supporting him. He thanked the PLO for their support. He thanked Muammar Gaddafi for his support. He thanked Fidel Castro for his support. What do you expect him to do if America and the CIA helped to put him in prison? And never helped him, but helped the governments that oppressed his people. Yet he was kind enough, magnanimous enough to let bygones be bygones, not even choosing to remind the American government of their wickedness. But America did not even want him to pay respect to those that helped him. When he got to the White House, Mr. Bush yes, I mentioned Mr. Bush. Mr. Bush tried to nudge Mr. Mandela away from armed struggle. Can you imagine the hypocrisy of Mr. Bush trying to tell Mandela, you should not be engaged in armed struggle, while Mr. Reagan, his former boss, could invade Grenada to destroy the government of Maurice Bishop and the New Jewel movement, under the pretext that a woman who lived in another island invited him in to another island that she was not the prime minister of. When you figure that one out, I'll be back in Chicago. Mr. Bush, following his predecessor, admonishing hypocritically Mr. Mandela, leave armed struggle alone, pulled out the stealth bomber that had never been used in any theater of operations to bomb the people of Panama while they were getting ready for Christmas. Peace on earth, goodwill toward men, looking for Santa to come down their chimney, but bombs came down from America, the home of the brave, the land of the free. Mr. Bush, who had Mr. Noriega on his payroll. Mr. Bush, who knew exactly how much money Noriega had in a Swiss bank account because much of it was paid to him by the United States government. Mr. Bush, who knew that drugs were being run into America and sold, and the money used to back the Contras. Mr. Bush knew this. But evidently, Mr. Noriega refused to continue to play ball. So the media was used to stir the American people up. And then they said they only killed 300. While in reality, brothers and sisters, from 4,000 to 7,000 blacks and mestizos were killed in Panama City and in Cologne and buried in mass graves, while Mr. Bush tells Mr. Mandela, you need to quit it. with this armed struggle. Mr. Bush, who does not think well of black people. His former boss, Mr. Reagan, did not think too well of black people for all the entitlement programs that helped us to get higher education cut back, aid to dependent children cut back, Head Start programs cut back, all of the programs that affect the poor and make life better for us, for Chicanos, for Native Americans, for poor whites, cut out. And now, Mr. Bush, whose predecessors were admonished by the Kerner Commission when there were 12.5 million black people in the inner cities of America, that if something were not done to mainstream black people, if the American government lacked the will to tax itself, that billions may be used to bail out the black community of America, that by 1985, 21 million black people would be in the inner cities, and it would be then impossible to mainstream black people. The Kerner Commission revisited these cities to review its findings 20 years later, and they said our findings are the same